What is up, Phil Rotors? We are up to part 8 of our multi-part series on how to play Star Wars Rebellion. Today, we're going to talk about everything you need to know about the Death Star and the Death Star under construction. So, you're going to learn the rules for the base game and the changes that can happen in the expansion as well. So let's go ahead and get started by talking about the Death Star and the Death Star under construction. Wow, that is a mouthful. Let's see, I gotta come up with another name for this. The Death Star under construction's acronym would be DSUC. I'm okay with that. We're gonna call it DSUC. All right. These are both considered to be space stations. Space stations have a couple of special rules. Number one, the Death Star has no health value and cannot be destroyed. The DSUC, however, does have a health value, but it is immobile and it cannot shoot. The Death Star cannot retreat from battle, and any units that are with it also cannot retreat. So while these two have some similarities to structures and capital ships, they are neither one. Now, when you start a base game of Star Wars Rebellion, you're going to start with one Death Star already constructed, and you can place it wherever it's legal for you to place your starting units. But if you play the expansion, what's going to happen is you're going to have the Death Star under construction along with 4 TIE fighters and a stormtrooper in a remote system, and the Death Star itself will be placed on spot 3 of the build queue and will be built just like normal units. Once the Death Star can be deployed, it replaces the Death Star under construction. And then, once you have your first Death Star, you can also construct a second Death Star. So there's a possibility that the Imperials could have 2 Death Stars floating around the galaxy, causing trouble. But then there's also a chance for the Rebels to destroy 2 Death Stars, which is really good for their reputation. Now, the way you construct your second Death Star is by getting the project card, Construct Death Star. What this allows you to do is, once again, place a Death Star under construction in a remote system. I'm going to say it's in Dagobah this time. And it'll be there, and once again, a completed Death Star will be put on Space 3 of the build queue. Now, we covered this in a little bit in a recent video, that it is possible for the second Death Star under construction to be placed over the hidden Rebel base without the Empire's knowledge, and you can keep it that way. But you might want to prepare for an attack against it. Also important to note before we get into how these things operate is, if you have a shield bunker in the expansion, the DSUC and the Death Star are invincible and cannot be destroyed. There's another way that the Death Star can become invincible as well, and that is with the secure plans, which also comes in the expansion. Secure plans allows you to place this marker on a remote planet, and the Rebels cannot play the card that allows them to destroy the Death Star until they get the secret plans to the Death Star off of that planet. Now you're probably wondering, how on earth do I get to destroy an Earth-sized planet with the Death Star? Well, let's see how we do that by destroying Alderaan. The only way you can activate the Death Star's main laser is once again with project cards. There's 3 cards that allow you to destroy planets, and 1 card in the expansion that allows you to destroy all the Rebel units on a planet. Once you play one of these in the sector that an operational Death Star is in, that planet gets destroyed. And you also gain some reputation in that system's region. So, win-win for the Empire. If the Rebel base happens to be on that planet, then everyone on there is destroyed, and the Empire automatically wins, obviously. Now, the single reactor ignition doesn't destroy the planet. However, it will destroy everyone on the planet, and If that happens to be where the rebel base is, you have to admit to it and lose all of your ground forces on the rebel base as well. And then space battle will initiate if you've got any spaceships in the rebel base as well. Yep, it's pretty devastating. Now let's talk about combat involving the Death Star. Once again, if the Death Star is in a system, then the Imperials cannot retreat from that battle. So we've got our battle set up for us right here, using some of the expansions. We're going to say it's mid-battle. We're going to say it's after the first space combat round, because after each space combat round, the Rebels have a chance to play the Death Star Plans card, which allows them, as long as they have one fighter unit left, fighter is either an X-Wing, a Y-Wing, or a U-Wing, they can do a trench run on the Death Star, which allows them to roll 3 dice. Let's see what we get here. If we get a direct hit, which we didn't, the direct hit looks like this, then we would destroy the Death Star and gain 2 reputation points and discard this card. If the trench run is unsuccessful, then the Rebels keep this card for later use. Now, there is a tricky way for the Rebels to just auto-kill the Death Star if their fighters survive a round, and that is with the 1 in a million shot, which allows you to just place the dice on the result that you want. So yeah, I am going to totally destroy the Death Star. Boom. It's also important to note that the Death Star plans can be used on the Death Star under construction, but as long as you can get some fighters in there to deal enough damage and thwart everyone else in the area, then you can also just use your fighters or your ships to keep attacking the Death Star under construction. I'm sorry, DSUC, as it has 4 black health. So as long as you can deal 4 damage to this in one battle, it will also be destroyed. A maximum of 3 planets can be destroyed in any one game by any of these Death Stars, and there are some other cards that will manipulate the gameplay depending on whether there's a Death Star in the region or how many planets have been destroyed. Some of them benefit the Rebels, mostly it benefits the Empire. So that is everything you need to know about the Death Star and the DSUC. Hi, puppy. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe and click that little bell button next to the subscribe button so that you can get the rest of the parts as they come out on our How to Play Star Wars Rebellion. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Oh, hey, our next part is going to be all about leaders and team games. There's a lot. Hey, is there a question that you had that this video didn't answer? Leave a comment below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But keep in mind that your answer might just be in a different video if it's in a different category. Thanks for watching.